weird and crazy things he says that leaves the rest of us scratching our heads. He won because of it. Explain that.
Here in Washington, every politician says the same thing. If you're a Democrat, you say one set of things. If you're a Republican, you say another set of things. The thing about Trump that was so appealing is that he was so transgressive. And the book essentially tells the story of how Trump moved from entertainment and The Apprentice over into politics and then took the Washington political world by storm. And his partner in this wild story is Steve Bannon, who's another guy who has a bizarre backstory of his own, but who I'd known actually since 2011, just living and working here in Washington as the chairman of Breitbart News, a crusading populist right-wing website that goes after Democrats and Republicans and helped knock off House Speaker John Boehner a couple years ago. He and Trump had known each other for a while, and eventually they came together. Bannon took over the campaign right at a low point with about 90 days to go in the race and pulled off the greatest upset in U.S. political history.
So you're saying that if Donald Trump would have acted more like a traditional candidate, he never would have won?
He would have lost. No, look, if people wanted a traditional candidate, there were 16 other choices in the Republican field. They had the poo-poo platter of traditional candidates they could have chosen from. That is not what Republican-based voters wanted in 2016. They wanted something different. They were tired of the way politics was working, and Trump was a guy who had such great personal force. Just seeing him up there on the debate stage doing and saying things that no politician had ever done before, I think just excited people, and they got behind him, and they got behind a movement. And Trump had a distinct brand of politics that he got from Bannon that also had a lot of appeal that I think Republican leaders didn't understand until too late.
That's how he won the primary. How did he win the general election?
He won the general election by absolutely destroying Hillary Clinton. And here again, this is the other thread weaving through the story. Bannon, long before Trump came on the scene, was a guy who organized what basically amounts to a right-wing conspiracy to tear down Hillary Clinton. Beginning years and years ago, I talk about his backing from the billionaire Mercer family, these secretive right-wing billionaires who helped fund Breitbart News. They helped funded a think tank that Bannon ran down in Florida that produced the book Clinton Cash. I'm sure you guys remember that. Came out on the eve of Clinton's candidacy and really tarnished her image by revealing all the ties to shady foreign donors. Bannon was also part of the data firm that helped run Trump's election. And so all these interlocking organizations that Bannon set up and ran had been geared for years toward tearing down Hillary Clinton. So come August 2016, when Bannon takes over Trump's campaign, lo and behold, who's he up against? The same woman that he's been working to destroy for the last 3-4 years, helped focus Trump on that target. And Trump, as we all know, I mean, his one overwhelming talent as a politician is to tear down his opponents. He did it with Ted Cruz and Marco Rubio. He absolutely did it with Jeb Bush. And in the end, he was able to do it with Hillary Clinton, too.
But Steve Bannon isn't a Donald Trump guy. He's not good looking. He's not rich and powerful.
to say the least.
Right. I mean, he likes rich guys. He likes powerful guys. He likes good looking guys. He likes the image. Steve Bannon is none of those things. So how is it a deal with the devil? Hence the book, The Devil's Bargain?
Kind of. What Bannon has that you don't see from the public persona is he has this kind of personal charisma. He came up through Harvard. He was at Goldman Sachs as an investment banker in the 80s. He was out in Hollywood. He's a deal guy at heart. And he's somebody who had a lot of experience dealing with moguls, cutting deals with guys like Ted Turner and Michael Ovitz. So when he comes into Trump's orbit, Trump thinks of him as one of his own. Like, this is a guy I can talk to. I recognize this kind of guy. And Bannon is really good at maneuvering these kind of rich, ambitious, egotistical billionaires. Somebody told me right off the bat that back then, Trump tended to surround himself with lackey types, and that Bannon was the only alpha male in his universe. And Trump's longtime advisor, Roger Stone, who is probably the best dressed man in Washington, D.C., told me, I know that Trump's connection with Bannon is genuine because Bannon is a slob and Trump hates slobs, so he must really love the guy.
Has Donald Trump responded to you since the book's come out at all?
Donald Trump has not responded to me because he's had his mind focused on Russia, it seems like. But I wouldn't mind if he wanted to shoot out a few tweets about the book. That could only it might terrify my family, but it would be good for book sales.
The book
so I hope he reads it. Hey, look, it's got a happy ending, right? He wins in the end. So maybe to cheer him up. Maybe I've got it all wrong.
Devil's bargain, Joshua Green. Last question for you, Joshua Green. Where does all this end? Is there a fire to all this Russia smoke?
You never know where Trump is going to go next or what wild and crazy thing is going to happen. But Trump is sure acting like a guy who has got something to hide. And the fact that he's talking about firing his Attorney General, Jeff Sessions, who is the ultimate Trump loyalist. And I tell the story in the book about how Sessions was afraid to endorse Trump and Bannon talked him into it. So Sessions was such a key and pivotal figure in Trump's rise. The fact that he's talking to the New York Times about getting rid of Sessions, I think says to me that Trump is really worried. And we don't know what he's worried about yet, but I think we're going to find out eventually.
Why don't Republicans, and is there any talk about getting rid of Trump and then having Pence go in there, right, dial down the rhetoric, but still do the things Trump is talking about doing?
You know who talks about that? Democrats. But Republicans won't do it because if you look at Republican base voters, they're still, by and large, with Trump. There was an ABC poll that came out last week that said 9% of Republican voters think that there was collusion in the Russia scandal. Trump voters are sticking with Trump, at least for now. And as long as they do, Republican politicians are not going to be willing to cross them and impeach Trump in order to get Mike Pence in there, even if in their hearts the ones in Washington would far prefer Pence to be in the Oval Office, not Trump.
Josh.